My parents left me at a petrol station as a joke. They thought it would be funny to see how long it took me to get home. I never went back to them. 20 years later, they finally found me. This morning I saw that I had 39 missed calls. I never imagined I would tell this story. But after watching a TikTok about parents teaching their kids lessons, something inside me changed. I'm 36 now, but I can still remember the smell of gasoline and the hot summer air from that day 20 years ago. My parents, Gerald and Denise, believed in tough love. Growing up, everything was a lesson or a way to build character. They would do things like wake me up at 3 in the night to mow the lawn because I forgot to do it earlier, or make me walk to school in the rain when I missed the bus, even though Mom was going that way anyway. That July morning felt like any other summer day. We were driving back from visiting my sister Sabrina at college, which was about 4 hours away. I was in the back seat, half asleep, listening to my iPod. Dad needed gas, so we stopped at a lonely station off the highway. "Scott, go get me a coffee," Dad said from the driver's seat. I got out, took his money, and went inside. The cashier was an old guy who looked really tired from the heat. The coffee machine was broken, so I waited while he made a new pot. When I came back outside, the car was gone. At first, I thought they had moved to a different pump. Then I saw our old Camry driving away on the highway. I stood there, my coffee getting cold in my hand, watching their lights disappear. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. "Let's see how long it takes you to get home. Think of this as a lesson." I tried to call, but it went straight to voicemail. After about 20 minutes, Mom sent another text. "Don't bother calling. Your dad says you need to figure this out yourself. See you when you get home." The truth is, this wasn't even the worst thing they had done. 2 years earlier, they had locked me out of the house in February because I got a C+ in chemistry. They said, "Maybe a night in the cold will help you study better." That time I broke into the garage and slept there. They were mad about the broken window and made me pay for it with my McDonald's money. Standing there at the gas station, something clicked in me. I looked at the coffee in my hand and realized I was done with their games. I had about $140 saved from my summer job at the local pool. My backpack was still in the car, but I had my wallet and iPod. I went back inside and asked the cashier where the nearest bus station was. "About 2 miles that way," he said, pointing. "You okay, kid?" "Yeah," I replied. "Just need to make a call first." I called my Aunt Lola, Mom's sister, who they had stopped talking 2 years ago, because she gave me a phone when they took mine away. She picked up on the second ring. "They left you where?" What happened next is a bit blurry. Aunt Lola was far away, but she did something I'll never forget. She called a taxi for me to get to the bus station and bought me a ticket online. "Get here," she said. "We'll sort everything out." My phone kept buzzing with texts from Mom. "Don't you dare call Lola." "You better be walking home, young man. Your father is very disappointed. This attitude needs to stop." I blocked their number, turned off my phone, got on that bus, and watched the scenery pass by for 6 hours. I heard later from Sabrina that they went back to the gas station that night, expecting to find me there. They reported me missing, but it was dropped quickly when Aunt Lola sent the paperwork to free me. That was 20 years ago. I finished school while living with Aunt Lola, got my GED, and learned some skills. I built a life, got good at fixing things, started my own business, met someone, and had kids of my own. I never played any of those teaching games with them. I thought that part of my life was over. But yesterday my office phone rang. The caller ID showed a number I hadn't seen in 20 years. I didn't answer, but they found me, and now I have 39 missed calls. Update: I never check my phone during meetings. It's a rule I follow since starting my construction business. But when I left the meeting yesterday and saw 39 missed calls, my stomach dropped. Most were from unknown numbers, but 3 were from my sister Sabrina, who I hadn't talked to in 2 decades. For those who missed my earlier post, here's a quick recap. When I was 16, my parents left me at a gas station as a joke to teach me independence. Instead of going home, I took a bus to my aunt's place 2 states away and never looked back. I built my own life and started a construction business. 20 years of peace until yesterday. The first voicemail was Sabrina crying, "Scott, please pick up. Mom and Dad found you. They're freaking out. Just call me back, okay?" Not them, me. My coffee got cold as I listened to the other messages. Most were from my parents, switching between guilt and demanding I answer. "Your mother is sick. How could you abandon your family? It's rich coming from them." "We made one mistake. One that's funny." The last voicemail was my dad, slurring his words. You think you're better than us with your fancy business? We made you who you are. You owe us. I sat in my truck for a long time watching my phone get more calls. Finally, I texted Sabrina, meeting tomorrow. Denny's on 5th, 7 a.m. Come alone or don't come. She showed up looking just like I remembered, only older, with the same nervous habit of tearing napkins. They're losing the house, she blurted out before sitting down. Dad's been gambling. Mom's maxed out their credit cards. They found your company website and want money. I finished my coffee. The waitress brought it, and my hands didn't shake as I added cream. Tell me everything. Turns out they had been watching my company's social media for months. Dad thinks I owe them for my success. They need $50,000 to avoid losing their house. Sabrina kept apologizing, saying she tried to stop them from reaching out to me. Why help them? I asked after everything. She started crying, telling me about Dad's drinking getting worse, Mom's shopping problem, and how they blame everyone but themselves. They're still our parents, she whispered. No, I said. They stopped being my parents at that gas station. The difference between you and me, Sabrina, is you're still hoping they'll change. My phone buzzed, Mom calling again. I declined it and took out my wallet. I'm paying for breakfast. Block my number after this. Whatever they do next, don't call me. Scott, please, I mean it. You're my sister and I love you, but I'm not your solution. Let them fall. I was halfway to my truck when Sabrina ran after me. They're coming to your office, she shouted. Tomorrow morning. Mom found the address. I nodded. Good, let them come. I got back to my office to find 27 new messages. They were telling the whole family. I was a heartless person who abandoned them, and now won't help in their time of need. Classic narcissist behavior. But here's what they don't know. I spent the last 24 hours making calls of my own. It turns out their mortgage is with a bank I've worked with. They're 3 months behind on payments. Foreclosure has started. Tomorrow morning, they'll walk into my office thinking they have the upper hand, thinking they can guilt-trip me, manipulate me, and force me to be their safety net. They have no idea what's coming. I've scheduled a meeting with my lawyer first thing. By the time they arrive, everything will be ready. They want to see what I've become? Fine. Let them see exactly who their son is. And what happens when you push someone too far? I'm not that scared 16-year-old anymore. I'm not running, and I'm done being nice. We'll update tomorrow after they show up. I have a feeling it's going to be quite a show. Edit. For those asking, yes, I'm recording everything. Yes, I have security. No, I won't back down. They made their choice 20 years ago. Now it's my turn. Edit 2. Stop messaging me about forgiving family. You didn't go through what I did. Blood doesn't excuse abuse, and trust me, the gas station was just the beginning. Update 2. Hey Reddit. A lot has happened since my last post. I wasn't planning to update so soon. But after what happened yesterday, I need to share. I was in my office looking at invoices when Jenny, our receptionist, called. Scott, there's a couple here insisting on seeing you. They say they're your parents. My stomach dropped. I had been expecting this since they found me, but it still hit hard. I told Jenny to send them in. I might as well face this. Through the glass walls of my office, I watched Gerald and Denise walk in. They looked older and worn out. Dad's mustache was gray now, and Mom's dyed blonde hair couldn't hide the wrinkles around her eyes. They were dressed nicely. The same cheap dress Mom wore to church and Dad's old brown suit that never fit right. As soon as they walked in, Mom started crying, full-on sobbing. My baby boy. Look at you all grown up. She tried to hug me. I stepped back. Let's keep this professional, I said, pointing to the chairs. What do you want? Dad puffed up like he always did when he was about to preach. Now, son, is that any way to talk to your mother after all these years? Cut the... I interrupted. You didn't spend 20 years looking for me because you miss me. You found me now because you need something. What is it? Mom's crying got louder. How can you be so cruel? We made one little mistake. A mistake? I laughed, but it wasn't happy. You left your 16-year-old kid at a gas station, 200 miles from home as a joke. Then you drove off laughing, saying, let's see how long it takes him to get home. That wasn't a mistake. That was the last straw after years of your games. We came back for you, Dad shouted, standing up. We drove back after an hour, but you were gone. Yeah, I was gone, and I stayed gone. Best decision I ever made. I pulled out my phone and pressed record. Now state your business or leave. That's when the truth came out. Between Mom's sobs and Dad's angry outbursts, they explained what was happening. They took out a second mortgage on the house for Dad's failed investment. Now they were 6 months behind on payments and the bank was foreclosing. They needed $175,000 to save their home. "You've done so well for yourself," Mom whimpered, pointing at my office. "Surely you can help your own parents." I let them finish, then I pulled out a folder from my desk. "Funny you should mention the house. When I heard you were looking for me, I did some research. I found out about the foreclosure, so I had my company buy your mortgage from the bank." The silence was amazing. Their faces changed from confusion to shock to fear. "What? What does that mean?" Dad's voice lost its power. "It means you have 30 days to leave the property. My company legally bought it at auction last week. We're tearing it down for a new project." Mom started crying loudly. Dad's face turned red. "You can't do this!" "That's our home." Like the gas station was my home. "At least I'm giving you 30 days. "You gave me 30 seconds. Dad lunged over the desk. I stood firm. Security rushed in. I had them waiting. As they pulled my parents out, Mom screamed that I was evil, that I'd rot in hell. Dad threatened to sue. I just watched through the glass as they were taken away, still recording everything. My phone buzzed with a text from my sister Sabrina. They just called me crying. "What did you do?" I replied, "What they taught me to do, look out for myself. I've spent 20 years building my life from nothing. Now I'm going to use everything. I learned to tear down the house. That was never really a home. The demolition starts next month. I'll update you when it's done. Edit. My aunt, Mom's sister who took me in, just called. She's proud of me. That means more to me than revenge ever could. Final update. First, thank you all for the support on my previous posts. I never thought my story would get this much attention. What happened in the last few days? Well, let's just say karma finally caught up with them. After I bought their house at the auction through my company, my parents, Gerald and Denise, completely lost it. They started calling every relative, telling them how their ungrateful son was throwing them out. The thing is, they didn't expect me to have proof of everything. Remember those old Nokia phones that could record calls? I kept one from back then. I recorded their prank, them laughing as they drove away, saying, "Let's see how long it takes him to get home." I kept it all these years. I also have a folder of old birthday cards with not-so-nice messages like, "Maybe if you weren't such a disappointment." I saved 20 years of emotional abuse, all neatly organized. Yesterday morning, I sent everything to the whole family. Every relative got to hear that recording, see those cards, and read the texts. By noon, my sister Sabrina called me crying. It turned out that dear old Mom and Dad had been telling a very different story all these years. They said I ran away because I was on drugs, classic. But here's where it gets even better. Remember how I said I was going to tear down their house? Well, I did exactly that. I had all the permits ready. I called them to come watch. They showed up with my Aunt Lola, thinking she would talk sense into me. Instead, they got to see their house get torn down. Mom was screaming about her garden, and Dad was threatening to sue. With what money? I stood there drinking my coffee, watching them lose it. 20 years of their abuse gone in 2 hours. The look on their faces when the bulldozer went through Mom's favorite flowers? Priceless. But I wasn't finished. The land is actually in a good location. Instead of a fancy development, I'm building affordable housing. 20 units with reasonable rent, giving priority to single parents and their kids. I got the plans approved. The best part? I'm naming it Annabelle Haven after my aunt who took me in when I was 16. She passed away last year, but she'd be proud to know her name is on something that helps people. Mom and Dad tried to get the neighbors against me, showing them happy family photos. Too bad the neighbors remembered how they heard me crying at night. One of them, Mrs. Henderson, even came over and hugged me, saying she always regretted not calling child services. This morning was the final showdown. They came to my office again, this time acting humble and sorry. Dad actually cried, saying they were about to be homeless. Mom promised she'd forgive me if I just helped them. I let them talk for 10 minutes, then handed them a rental application for one of the new units. I told them they could apply just like anyone else, but they'd need references and a good credit check. Their faces were priceless. "But we're your parents," Mom screamed. Dad started his usual speech about everything they've done for me. I just smiled and said, "Yes, after everything you've done. This is exactly what you deserve." The demolition crew starts at 7 a.m. tomorrow. Don't forget your garden gnomes. They're still blowing up my phone. Sabrina says they're staying in a cheap motel and claiming they'll sue me. Good luck with that. Everything I did was legal. Their house will come down tomorrow, and I'm going to live stream it on Instagram for the whole family to see. You know what's funny? For years I dreamed of revenge and imagined all sorts of wild plans. But in the end, just letting them face the consequences feels better than anything I could have thought of. They threw away their son over a mean joke.
And now they get to watch everything they built get torn down to help people
they would have looked down on. Tomorrow I'm bringing lawn chairs and popcorn to watch their house come down. Anyone want to join? Edit 2. For those asking, yes. I'm really going through with the affordable housing plan. I've partnered with a local nonprofit to help with applications. And no, I won't change my mind. Some bridges should stay burned. Edit 3. For those asking about my sister Sabrina and me, we are working things out. She was only 8 when everything happened. I can't blame her for believing their lies. We're getting coffee next week. Edit 4. Wow, this blew up. Thanks for all the support. And to those saying I'm being too harsh, try being left at a gas station at 16 and see how forgiving you feel. If you enjoyed this Reddit story and want to hear more, please make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more thrilling content. Your support means a lot. Thank you for being part of this journey.